Here's number 8.
Hana is 13, I think.
No,
Maybe
that was
not.
less than
Let's see.
Yeah, new numbers. Oh, we did?
The
Yeah.
picture's really blurry, is that just because it doesn't have any focus in
What's
it?
my new number? I'm
Yeah,
six.
it's alphabetical.
Okay, cool. All right, good to know.
Number 8 is. It's Hana. But she's not here, is she? Who's 13?
Nice.
Okay. Who's number 11? Let's see. So Casey, you're our video producer. Why is that so?
I have no idea. Oh, Jim.
There you go. Who's number 5? That would be John. You're our internet access person. And number 10, Joshua, you're our graphus. Very good.
Stay up here for me.
Thank you so much. So let me remind you about our workshop tomorrow evening, Tuesday, 5:30 to 8. Hoorah. Bring your food, eat with us. We're just so you know, and I'm putting these things up. So we've got a colloquium today and one on Wednesday. Today's the Indians, books 1 through 3. Wednesday, 4 through 6. We have a common plenary session on Friday. Professor Satterfield will be presenting that, and then our next colloquium will be the following Monday, right? And we'll do 8 through 10. Okay. And then the following Wednesday, 10 through 12.
Let's do 7.
What's that?
Do 7.
No. 7, well, whatever. We're doing 3 books a session, okay? Excellent, all right, so Ryan, you're up.
All right, so
We've got lots of ground to cover. Can you put up the questions, please?
Yes.
we do. So today, as you guys saw on the website, we are splitting up into groups. Let's start off with just kind of dividing the groups. They're orange, grape, and cherry. And then in each group, we can just kind of like set together arguments, and then with the time left, we'll divide into thirds so each group can have time to discuss their topic. So group orange will be over here because I'm here. Siobhan, Julie, Hope, Josh, and Aaron. And then group grape.
We're gonna meet over there because we're doing
All right, yeah, Jennifer, John, Han, Casey, Sales, and Phoebe. And then group cherry, I guess, can meet in that corner, which will be Natalie, Lisa, Cameron, Sheridan. Kind of, and let's take like 5 minutes to kind of get organized, and then we'll get started. Great.
Great.
Just like stuff.
Everyone gathering. Hello, guys. We have a cool topic.
What's up, peeps?
Dreams.
Dreams are very important.
Yeah.
Can I talk about some omens? Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
there's plenty of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm talking about like specifically the Hector.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, so next
Good choice, good choice.
Hector's
Yeah,
Journey
yeah.
on page 43. There were a couple examples of the omens, like one that I wanted to talk about was, or like, other people talk about it too.
The snake.
There were the omen, the snake one, yeah, that was on page 41, and then also on page 57 when it was like the two like good omens after the dude praised to Jupiter, and then like the
Where?
two omens on page 57. There was like the point on the head that casts light, like the flames that touched but didn't burn. And then right after there was like a star with trailing flame. So I was like imagining like a shooting star.
Yes.
Like those were like the two signs that they got, I guess, that they would live.
Well, I think it's important to mention that all of the omens are sort of specifically about their journey.
Yeah.
When they're bad omens, they're just sort of saying, "Go away, you're not supposed to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Keep going. Don't stop yet.
Move on. Move along.
Why are you still here? Go home."
It's not the George you're looking for.
Yeah. And I have all the other texts that you're supposed to be related to. I know.
Yeah, I don't live, so.
What other examples are there aside from Hector's dreams, the snake sign, the
There's
snake?
let's see. There's they go to the side
Is that how you pronounce that?
in 2905, and there's the it's the ghost. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the ghost of his wife saying
Two.
yeah.
The very end of book 2. The very end.
2905. Yeah, it's his wife saying, don't avenge me. Basically, I'm dead. Go away.
You can get another wife.
Yeah. Forget about me.
I don't know if my
Yeah, I'm sorry. Completely in the wrong place.
because book 2905 is where I have the two signs
Side person.
of 9 and 10.
Yeah, okay.
Why is my one?
What?
Basically, look at this recycle.
So anyway, and then they go to some island in 330, and there's a bleeding turtle, right?
A what?
Where?
There's a plant that he pulls out of the ground and it starts bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It's, what's his name?
And then someone's
Son?
saying, "Go away." And then at Delos in book 3, line 105, the temple trembles, right?
Does anyone
It's
want
like, go to Crete, don't stay here anymore. And then the plague. And he has another dream in 3, 2, and 3, right? And people come to him and are like, everything's gonna be fine.
Okay, do we have a few people then that want to talk about the instances in book 3?
Then in 3, 2, yeah, because in 3, 2, there's the bird of ill omen, which is the bird that's like, why are you bothering us in our homeland? You should be going to your homeland.
Fun.
Oh, and then like you can go back, Cassandra, she's mentioned 3 times that I wrote down, because she's always like, hey, I'm a prophet. And they're like, but you're not though. And she's like, oh, but I am. So no one believes her, and they talk about that all the time.
So we're gonna book 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm sure there is something. Yes, I just don't write it down. That's all the gods bickering.
Yeah, I know, it's because of his mother's.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
like getting mad at her if they're hiding something.
Yeah, she's like, you just be.
He talks to him. He doesn't really an omen. He's just talking to his mom.
Then.
He's a mama's boy.
Yeah, right. He really is. He's like, Mom, help me. She's like,
Then again, if my mom was a god, I'd probably be a mama's boy too.
I mean, you know the big hurricane that started the storm in the first place? Was that,
but that's because.
Wasn't that somebody's
Yeah,
doing
that
that?
was Juno being like, hey, Iolaus, help me out here.
Wait, Juno is Hera to the Greeks, right?
Yeah, she's all like, I don't like them. They're mean. And they're
She doesn't
they're
like
gonna
them.
found the people who's
She
gonna
should use
destroy my
Zeus.
people. So
Oh,
they
she
win.
should use Zeus at the Greek school.
And then Poseidon's all like, you're not allowed to do that. Stop. Go home.
Get out of here.
Yeah, right? I mean, there's this stuff about them going to see Dido and seeing all the stuff. And again, it's not like prophecy. It's just like what happened.
How about related to other works?
Okay, I just had that.
Like the second half of the question.
Yeah.
There's the dream that Jacob has. Yes, like there's a lot of dream stuff in the Bible. I mean, obviously there's Joseph and his dreams. There's Jacob and his dream on the rock when he dreamed of like the pillar of cloud when he was afraid. There's
Gilgamesh had a dream.
Gilgamesh had some kind of dream. Enkidu dream.
oh, that he was gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he told Gilgamesh
I
about it.
also have, it's not a dream, but in Samuel, when Saul asked someone to speak to Samuel after he's died. He sort of comes up and says, like, dude, you're gonna lose. And that reminded me of the dream of Hector, right? Because like Hector was, never mind, I'll talk about it, don't worry. Let's see, and then Job, he dreams about, let's see, visions of the night and deep sleep falls on the like dreading and came the army and trembling. There's dreaming king.
But what's the dream?
Well, it's just sort of the dream as an omen, and like it's an omen in itself. Because like his dream is saying, wait. Which is the main point. And then in here, in the very beginning, we talked about interpreting dreams, but the most important one I thought
All right,
was
so is everybody ready to come back together and we'll discuss in by group?
set the fake dream, right? To try and trick him.
And then there's like when they're in the middle of the fight and the eagle or whatever flies over.
Yeah, a little bit longer.
We'll go to 11,
That's
20.
good.
You mentioned this is like 5 more minutes.
I pay attention sometimes.
And I think that they even like pick up on that
So
stuff.
what
as
is
a
everyone
group,
talking
and so,
about?
like, is this the reward for devotional? So like they're kind of saying like, this is up to us, like we've done everything, right? I think that they pick up on that too.
Sounds like you've got Hector.
You take?
That's what I worked on.
Almost impressed.
I'd like to
Wait,
talk
what
about some of the-
prophecies?
Yeah, where are the prophecies?
What are the things?
There's another,
like
wait,
these?
The prophecies?
What are these little italicized? Is it? I mean,
could it be thought?
I didn't read the
There he essentially asked, talked about ongoing that. So like remember like.
So can I do the pages 57 and 58 about
Go
the
for
two
it.
women? Okay.
Wait, is
What do you
the,
want to talk about? Does anyone want to talk about some of the events in book 3? The shaking temple?
There's a ton of stuff in it where he's sort of leading them on their
Yeah.
the journey?
So some people want to talk about that.
Talk about what happens after you
Wait, so they like
leave.
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
And I think it's interesting that a lot of the owners.
Came from what?
That happened with the heartbeats when they're,
Wait, what
Someone can
prophecy?
talk about people not listening to
And
prophets or something because no one listens to Laocoon.
Where is she?
Laocoon's man. He's the one who warns against the horse.
Oh, and then through the spear at it.
And then there are a couple things that you have to do to tie people like not paying attention.
what book is that in?
That's book 2.
Wait, what prophecies are there? Is there a prophecy?
See, I don't know if the what if the italicized thing is book prophecies? Because there, well,
I think they might be
in some
standard
places,
translations, but I have no idea. I didn't.
Some of them sound kind of prophetic.
yeah, exactly. But then
Maybe
other
that's what
times,
they are.
well, then other times it doesn't sound. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Sometimes it's just like a weird description.
in the text that I read before, it does not be italicized.
Okay, so I can do the Homers.
Yeah, because the
in
thing
book
about
two.
bees is definitely not a prophecy at all. It's just a
Yeah,
Anecdote about bees.
there's the one about like how it's like Ulysses and Hector like wins, and it's just describing it. But then this one
bees. These are
about
great.
the snake and his venomous and so on, that's not a prophecy, it's just like a different way of describing.
Wait, wasn't there something about descendants founding a great empire or something like that?
Do what?
Wasn't there something about Remus and Romulus?
Yes, there's someone gives him a whole. I think it's Venus, right?
It tells him like his descendants will form like the world's greatest empire.
He's gonna be and it even like talks about Caesar.
We should talk about that.
Do you know where it is?
I cannot remember where it is though.
It's in book 2.
Yeah, no.
No, I just don't remember where in book 2.
Is it when he's retelling a story?
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
it's
book
when he's
2,
retelling.
talking.
That's book 3. That's book 2.
Alright, guys, let's come back together.
No.
And we'll just kind of go through this, like, group by group. And, yeah.
Go that way.
Alright, so I guess Born will go first, because we're first on the little list. So,
Which
our
one the
topic
best?
was, what passages in the first few books that we needed?
Let's get around here so that we're all.
Yeah, let's.
Let's reconstitute our, you don't have to sit next to each other, maybe you know what groups you're part of.
Hi guys.
Did we find it?
This is book 3.
Could be.
It have to be early on.
3.
Sales, like that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You asked me my first one should be inside the white binder, and I don't. Did I not? No, it's not.
Cameron, why don't you go,
I like have a
Cameron?
white binder and then.
So
Oh, it's right there.
everybody spread out so that we can, so everybody can see everybody, right? Cameron, go around quietly through there, okay? Yeah. Because you're in the corner. Great.
Okay, so, your group orange, and our topic was what passages in the first three books we needed to indicate the relationship between mortals and fate or divinities? To what extent are mortals portrayed in this work as prey of cosmic forces or as makers of their own fates? How does this compare to such portrayals in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Homeric epics, and the histories of Herodotus? And I found a passage in book 1 where Jupiter tells the fate of Aeneas in like the creation of Rome, in lines 308 to 359. And there it's that just kind of shows that the individuals don't really have any control of their fate. It's already been decided for them. And that's kind of and it's partly comparable to the Homeric epics and how like a lot of intervention with the gods. And then it's also similar to the histories and the works by Livy because it tells of the founding of Rome and kind of the creation of cities.
In regards to the parallel with the Homeric epics, we thought that in the Aeneid, the interactions like with the gods in the Iliad were, it seemed like the gods interacted more with each other, and in this it seems like the gods are very directly interacting with the people and like directly affecting them. Whereas it seemed, I mean, that happened in the Iliad, but we thought in the Aeneid or in the Iliad there was a lot of like the gods fighting, and that was just affecting what was going on. Whereas in this, they're directly like Juno is directly like sending her like wrath towards them.
And also, there wasn't like a correlation between like them doing good and good things happening to them, because in book 1, line 300, they say like because of one deity's anger are betrayed and disbarred from the shores of Italy. Is this a reward for our devotion? So it's like the gods are like very much involved, but like not even in like a way of rewarding them for what they do good, like almost like a more like human way, like being angry.
That point's also continued in the invitations can be used, that you force demands of lawless division to there's such hardship around 14, 15. And also, along with the conversation of faith, it seems to strike the point of stoicism / and Epicureanism we discussed earlier with Lucretius.
And on page 46, at the very bottom, line 707, Venus is telling Aeneas that the whole war that destroyed Troy was the gods' fault. She says, no, it is the gods, the merciless gods who have ruined Troy.
And so that is, what we have to say on our topic, so is group great.
Can we discuss there, y'all's?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just,
It's kind of,
so you guys were kind of saying that you think that the interaction between the gods and the people is different than in the Homeric, like in the Iliad. Can you expand on that a little?
Well, I don't think in the Iliad the gods never really reveal their true identities to the people.
I mean,
they do that. I think more in the Aeneid is like the gods don't have as much interaction with each other. Yes, there's still some between like Jove and Jupiter and Venus, and then Cupid with Dido. But then in the Iliad you see like a lot of infighting. While in the Aeneid it's like less interaction and more of it. I don't know about more, but it's just mainly focused on with the characters, the mortals.
well, but what about like Juno and Neptune and Aeolus and all of them, right? Because that's all.
No, I think that if there is still like a lot of like interaction between the deities themselves in the Aeneid. I just think it's a little bit it's like definitely parallel to the Iliad, but also like a little difference where the fighting between the gods in the Iliad was more like the gods were divided and fighting amongst themselves, whereas this is Juno is just like specifically like has a grudge against this man and is going to.
Although she does in the Iliad too.
Yeah, with Paris, but I felt like it was a little bit different.
Within their like political interaction, this one in the Iliad, it seems as if there's almost a divine court that they are arguing at, whereas here it's almost like a patronage system that they kind of call in favors and such, and conflict over their realms, but it's in a far more decentralized manner.
Yeah. And I think that's probably partly because this is Aeneid specifically telling the story of it. And so it's mostly focused on his interactions, while the Iliad is sort of a larger scope of the whole event. So maybe that's part of why you see that. But you're right, you do see the gods talking amongst each other and interacting amongst each other less. So that's interesting. What about the moment in book 2, I believe, when he wants to kill Helen and Venus intervenes? Do you guys remember what happens there?
That was the part that I said.
Yeah?
On page 46 at the bottom.
Okay.
And back to like the question that was like posed, like what is fate? What like it's we decided that there was really no like human like effect on fate. It was really basically in this it appears to be completely chosen by the gods.
Yeah, like in the Odyssey, Odysseus, like, if I remember correctly, like wrongs Poseidon in some way, that kind of justifies why Poseidon is being so mean to him, like even though he overreacts. But here, like the passage I quoted, like is this the reward for devotion? It doesn't seem like the mortals like had that initial like sin against the gods to justify like the actions. It's more like fate is more like random and unfair.
Yeah, Juno specifically seems to be punishing them because what they may do in the future, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like Paris actually like judged against her, so there was a reason where I was like, this is just they might destroy Carthage at some point, so she wants to like she's like the gods are the ones like trying to interfere with fate that is supposedly inevitable, but humans aren't having any effect on it. The gods, like there is fate, but the gods are trying to change fate.
That's
So
You're
it's
right.
interesting because what is fate? Is it what Juno thinks is going to happen, or is it what the gods are trying to make happen? So like, is there a technical like fate? Like, will Carthage be destroyed? Because that's the fate, but the gods supposedly decide fate, but yet they're trying to change fate. So
Yeah.
it's very like what is the fate? Like, can Juno change fate because she's a god, or is she just trying to interfere with something that's inevitable?
yeah.
And do we see that in other stories?
Book 1, line 49 shows how the fate is bigger than Juno, and it says she will have to agree to what fate says. And they used to view, as we discussed in last class, fate as a goddess, Fortuna in Roman culture, and maybe she was higher ranked than Juno. I don't know how they decided.
Yeah.
And no one's mentioned the Epic of Gilgamesh yet with the interactions with the divinities. I feel like that's also really different from both the Aeneid and like the Homeric epics that we read. Like, I feel like the only like fate that's like Gilgamesh is trying to alter is his morality, and like the gods are just kind of like guides. I don't see them like directly, like when he was fighting Humbaba, like they didn't say like, I can't remember any of their names really, but Ishtar like came and like gave him strength, like what we see, or like sent like a natural force to like aid him. Like
Yeah. Well,
they're
then-
just
or,
kind of
like,
like guides.
Well, and that's another example too of like the gods having a personal vengeance against a person, right? Is Ishtar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because the
Yeah.
gods did send down the bull to like try to kill them, so
Yeah.
they did interact directly.
Like
But it's
Gilgamesh
still
insults
in-
Ishtar, and she's like, "See you."
It
Yeah.
doesn't change his fate, right?
Right.
Because so.
Yeah.
And in some way, he's trying to fight against fate, right? Because he's trying to fight his.
I just felt like the guys had a smaller role in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Like the role seems to get increasing. Like they just are seen more interactive in these later pieces of literature.
All right, so now let's move on to group grade. That's your topic.
Yeah, our topic was what is the role of dreams, omens, and prophecy in these books of the Aeneid? And then select one each and explain how they relate to comparable elements in their readings from the Epic of Gilgamesh, Hebrew literature, and Homeric epics. There were a lot of dreams, omens, and prophecy. One of them in book 2, my lines are different than yours, so I'm not sure. It's the one where the stranger is telling his story, the spy is telling his story, and in his story, he's talking about the signs from the goddess that made them build the Trojan horse. So it should be around line like 230 maybe, hopefully. But they're talking about the statue of the goddess.
It's like 215.
215, okay. They're talking about how the statue was set up, and then her eyes are glowing with flames, and then the apparition of the goddess rises 3 times with a shield and spear, and so they translated that, or supposedly translated that to like be the reason to build the horse. So even though these signs technically didn't happen, like it was all like a ruse, it was the story being told, it's clear that there's a connection to the Romans between like there being signs and then there being an appropriate like reaction or response to pacify the god or goddess that sent that sign. And just a page later, it's talking about the twin snakes and how this, and this actually I think was an actual sign that did actually occur. And it's when the 2 snakes come and they envelop the 2 boys. And I think that was the reasoning for them bringing the horse in, because they thought they would pacify the goddess through that action. So a lot of times the signs are ominous, and then they always incite some appropriate reaction from the peoples.
I have a quick question. Where have you seen a representation of the snakes?
Moses. Moses had a lot of signs as well, and one of the other signs I was going to talk about in a sec is like burning, but the baby isn't burned, and that was making me think of like Moses and his burning bush. But yeah, Moses had a ton of signs. Although what's interesting is that, I don't know, in the Aeneid, the signs usually just like come from the gods and just like appear. And with Moses, like he wasn't initiated then, but like it was through a person that the signs were occurring, if that makes any sense. So like when like the rods turned into snakes, it was because he threw the rod down rather than just like a snake appearing.
But a three-dimensional representation of this, where have you seen it?
Oh, it was one of our statues it was one of our pieces of art for the pieces of art that we selected music for.
Laocoon, this very famous sculpture that you picked music to go by. There you go.
Nice.
You should look at it again.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Okay.
So does group Rafe have anything else to say about the topic?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a lot.
Alright, so.
It's a big walk.
So there's 15 minutes left. Take like 3 or 4 more minutes to just kind of wrap it up, and then we'll let Group Orange go. Oh, yeah, no, not Orange, but Cherry. Yeah, here we go.
I had dreams, is what I looked at. And I specifically started with in book 2, line 319 through 357 of the Aeneid, when Hector appears to Aeneid in a dream, and he's looking disheveled and not, he looks like he looked when he died rather than like he looked when he was alive. So, and that in itself is a bad omen, because in deaths you should look glorious, not at your worst moment. And he tells Aeneas to run, to flee, that basically trying to stay and fight is futile. If he couldn't do it, then certainly nobody else can. And so this dream sort of is one of the first things that starts to motivate Aeneas to leave and to try and move on from Troy. And dreams are a big sort of source of omen and prophecy in a lot of what we've read. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, there's Enkidu, who dreams of his own death. And that's an interesting sort of tie into the theme of Gilgamesh, where he dreams of his own death and sort of is angry about it and rants against it, but can't combat it, essentially. And that's in book 7 or tablet 7 of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And that's another example of a dream sort of being a negative omen. In the Iliad, Agamemnon has a dream in book 2 that I believe is a dream sent to trick him into thinking that he can attack. And so this is a dream that seems like a positive omen, that seems like it's telling him that he'll be successful, but is actually like the Greek who was sent to make sure that the horse got into Troy was a false omen and told of the wrong thing. In the Bible, there's a ton of dreams. Lots of people have dreams. Obviously, Joseph is the dreamer. Daniel, Job has a dream. There are a lot of dreams, but one of the things that I want to talk about from the Bible isn't a dream, actually. It's in 1 Samuel 28:14 through 21, where Samuel asks a witch to speak to Saul, Saul asks a witch to speak to Samuel, and Saul is asking Samuel what can he do, and Samuel appears to him and says, "You've already lost," essentially, because you turned away from the gods. And that story just seemed very similar to Hector coming to him and saying, "You've already lost, leave." Although one is sort of a positive, move on, and one is sort of a, there's nothing you can do. But dreams are prevalent in a lot that we've read, and are frequently omens of bad things, things that are going to be bad that you have to prevent. So, yeah.
And then I guess just because we're on time, we'll let Jerry talk a little bit about the topic.
Before we move on, speaking of signs, I noticed a lot of times the reading of birds is mentioned at number 12. I don't have contextual evidence for that, but.
So our topic was to talk about human relationships in the Aeneid, and what that indicates about the Romans' view of human relationships. and then whether that particular view is consistent with the views presented in Greek or Greek Hebrew texts that we've already read.
Okay, so important relationship that I noted was between Venus and Aeneas, because it's a mother-son relationship versus just like a divine relationship between a divine being and a mortal. Because and it relates back to the Iliad between Achilles and his mom when and this is on page 8 when Venus begs Jupiter to end the suffering in Troy. And it goes back to Achilles' mom talking on behalf to Achilles, begging Zeus to get revenge in favor of Achilles in the Iliad.
And then we also noticed on page 44, which is book 2, lines like 614 to 634, is when Priam wants to attack Achilles' son for killing but Priam reminds Achilles' son of the respect that his father had when he killed Hector and like bringing back Hector's body to like his own people. And so there's a respect there in that relationship.
Yeah, on page 55 and 56, Aeneas talks to the spirit of Priam's son Polydorus, who's killed by Gratian, and the whole Trojan company are very, very disconcerted by the violation of the hospitality rules, which we've seen in the Iliad, I think, with the stealing of Helen, and back in the Hebrew text with Sodom a lot, and the angels coming to stand with him. No one will put them. But no one wrote it in my class. I remember the text reference. But
On the page 10, lines 338, the Romans are called rulers of the world, the people of the Torah. It reminds me of the chosen people, Hebrews, where there's a faith that they will rule the world, that they will be above everybody else. So like Romans view themselves as the chosen people at that point.
All right, so then, I mean, is that everything you have, or?
We have.
One more thing. Even though it's a relationship between gods, but gods a lot of times show human relationships, such as between Jupiter and Venus, father and daughter relationship. And I felt that in this book there was the conversation between father and daughter was like more loving and warm than the previous books. Family matters.
We talked about like in the Iliad when he was like, "Yeah, you're not made for war. Stay out of it."
And then and here Zeus tells her, "Don't worry," and like tells her nice words and that.
Rocky, can group 2 finish a couple other
Yes,
tables?
I just wanted to give everyone a chance.
Yeah, I got you.
We understand, we get it. Book 3, page 58, lines 160. It's where it's talking about when they first land on Crete, and before their ships even dry, there's a plague and famine that run the camp afoul. And I read that as an omen, basically saying, "Don't leave, continue your journey, move on." The exact same thing happens in the Bible with the Egyptians, plague and famine facilitate, movement.
Okay, well, on the subject of prophecies, in book 1, it starts at line 306, I want to say, and that's Jupiter talking to Venus about how like the descendants of Aeneas and that all that there. So what?
I was trying to hear what it was.
They're like the descendants of Aeneas were fated to like have the world's greatest empire and rule over Italy and everything, and even mention specifics like Romulus and Caesar, and it just like it's kind of like in the Iliad when there was a prophecy that said Troy was going to fall after 10 years of war. So and then Venus accepts that along with the events that are going on as like what am I trying to say here? It's just like just let things play out. Everything will work out in the end. And in the Bible, that's also like in the Bible when the Hebrews continually have faith when they're told you will receive the land of your forefathers, Abraham and Isaac.
And going off of that example, in book 3, on page 59, approximately 60-ish, it talks about how Aeneas went and got his fruit, right, or something, and it started to bleed, and so afterwards Apollo came up and spoke to him, and he's like, go to Delos? Delos. And you'll find like the original home of the Trojans, and like that's where you'll succeed. And then he has to go back because he's like, well, I'm not really sure about this. And then Apollo talks to him again, and he's like, go to Italy. So it's just kind of like going off what Sale said, like they will eventually reach where they need to go, but like there's definitely intervention from gods and stuff.
Just gotta have faith.
And even though the omens usually just like occur, like, you know, it happens and then they respond, there was an instance where they actually prayed for the omen, and that was how they knew that the gods were listening. And that was near page 57, around like, I think it might be line like 850 for you guys. And it's when the father Anchises is praying to Jupiter and saying like, you know, if we're going to survive, like if there's any chance we might survive, give us a sign. And so the first one was the flame on Iulus's head that touched him but didn't burn him. And then the second one was, it said a star fell trailing flames, so I took that to mean the shooting star. And then I guess that was a sign that Jupiter had heard their prayer and that they could, you know, that they would survive.
Speaking of interaction between Romans and other tribes or nations, when couldn't find it here, when Aeneas describes to Dido what happened in Troy, the Trojan tragedy, he speaks with pain about treachery, how Greeks won the war through treachery, and it's obvious from the text that he's disgusted by those practices. And previously in the Lucretius calls treachery on Roman ways when who was a tyrant? Forgot his name. Sent his son into sent his son into the city of Athens to destroy it from within. And we know that Romans are descendants of Trojans who were defeated through treachery. So I think they want to conquer lands, but not through treachery. I think there's like this concept of chivalry, maybe respect and honesty.
And that reminded me of another prophecy, because a race descended from the Trojans are going to destroy Carthage, and that's kind of what Juno's a little pissed.
It's really annoying.
Alrighty. Let's see, we're out of time. Thank you so much for a really excellent conversation today. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow evening.